back to folk, they have slogans. The Jews say, never again will they let history repeat itself. So African Americans have to have the same commitment, the same love and loyalty to their group as well. Marcus, I remember when James Brown first came out with "I'm Black and I'm Proud." And it meant something because then we were wearing those naturals, and when you passed a brother, you hit your chest and you gave him the Black Power sign, and that said that we understand the mission that we're on.
And we also understand, being on this desk and in this heat, that he also created another song. It costs to be the boss.
Okay.
It costs to be the boss, and we understand that that it's costing us a little bashing and heartache. But guess what? Somebody's got to get on the front line. Somebody's got to get on the front line. Everybody can't sit in the stands.
They are tree shakers and jelly makers.
I like that.
Okay. And for a long time, Marcus, we have to try to do both. And we're not supposed to have to do both. We're supposed to say, okay, if you're going to be the tree shaker, then business people can be over here and be the jelly makers. But when you don't hear anybody saying anything, nobody's shaking the tree anymore, Marcus, then you got to be in both seats.
Well, it sounds like the city trying to shake the tree a little bit, because one day we getting an authority, and now we're fighting authority. It seems like.
Well, that's kind of conflicting, Marcus. And so I tell you, we're going to get right into it. Economics depends upon Black folks' ability to control the government, provide opportunities for the constituencies that they reside in. So, Marcus, right here, we see a press release on the screen that shows that Mayor Horn announces appointments to the Metro Jackson Water Authority. Now, Marcus, what's your thought about the authority?
In the beginning, I was totally against it, and that's just the mayor side of me. Of course, being the mayor of Edwards, I fought hard to make sure Edwards did not become a part of an authority, because you have to understand, in my opinion, your most powerful purse in a municipality is your water enterprise. And if you give up your water revenue, you might as well go to the house. And so I was at first against it, but after I, researched and saw the things that have happened in Jackson, it was almost, necessary, to the point where the authority came into play. But after getting into the authority issue and seeing the strong arming that the state was doing, I'm not in agreement with that part. I again will say publicly, I do not believe in an authority or committee being created to make decisions on Jackson water that comprise the people that are not represent Jackson.
So is the proposed authority by the state has that kind of a makeup that's of the people that live in Jackson on the board? What is the makeup of the board?
Well, it's my understanding that the mayor gets to appoint three individuals, and a fourth individual is selected between him and the governor. Is that my understanding? Okay. And then Byron has a selection. Ridgeland has a selection. The lieutenant governor has a selection, and is it anybody else?
Well, so what you've outlined is that there is a proposed authority. It's not even proposed anymore. It's been enacted in legislation. It has passed through the Senate and the House, and it is now law that there will be an authority that controls Jackson's water enterprise.
I think the first mistake, though, if we back up a little bit, was the authority committee that they created. The authority committee that they created had three Republicans. I think two of them, one represented the coast, one represented Hattiesburg, Summerall, and Petal. We had an independent who is basically, I think, half Republican, half independent, who represents Northeast Jackson. And in Jackson, in the city that's 85% African American, there was only one African American Democrat who's a part of the local delegation on the committee.
Yeah.
That's not right.
That's not right.
That's not right.
That's not right. And so we have these conflicting statements. So on the screen, you see where the press release came out saying that the mayor names his appointees to the water authority. And that's on Saturday. Marcus, then I believe on Monday that we saw the city say that they were going to file a lawsuit to stop the state's water decision and render the state's legislation moot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's going to be interesting.
Right.
But I want the viewers to understand why this is so important to those of us in the business community. Not so much the governing side of it, but the fact that African American businesses get less than 1% of contracts for goods and services from the state of Mississippi, as all of the agencies combined. We get less than 1%. So if you put people of a like mind over the water authority, then it stands to reason that African American businesses will get less than 1% of the contracts for goods and services. And for those out there that are saying that all we do is fight about contracts, you've got to understand that contracts fuel the economy. And that's why our people died, so that we'd have an opportunity to grow a strong Black middle class.
And, you know, I have to add, and again, this is not a racist opinion or comment, but I don't like authorities and commissions, because I personally think that that's a form of control, especially to the African American towns and cities. When you look at Mississippi, municipal utilities, all the money is municipal utilities. And you know,
who ran that, Marcus? It wasn't the elected officials.
Exactly. And then, you know, I found some news out last week that really knocked me off of my rockers when I heard this 1% sales tax commission, or that we have, has accumulated up to about 197 million, and about 5 million has only gone to the African American parts of this city.
Again, less than 1%, Marcus.
Is it less than one, or is it less than point?
That's probably less than.
God.
I don't have my calculator with me, but I can tell you it's a number that does not represent good stewardship of the resources of Jackson. And so when we see all of these contractors, out-of-state contractors, I'm going to go along with Marcus here. If you're a local white firm working in Jackson, more power to you. We welcome. We think you're doing the right thing because you're invested in here and you're local, and you ought to have opportunities. But if you're an out-of-state firm that's in here doing business and the local people are not doing business, that's a problem. We think you ought to go home. We think you ought to win at home. And we say to us that if you can't win at home, Marcus, you can't win nowhere.
Well, you know, and it was once upon a time where the local businesses were the ones who brought the out of town companies in. We were forecast the information of what was coming down the pipeline, the different projects, and it allowed us to go out and get the extra artillery that's needed. Now we stand on the sidelines when the out of towners come in, and it's just like holding up a sign, like the folks out there at the light saying they'll work for food. We're holding up signs letting the out of town company know we'll work with them.
We'll work for food.
And it has really dampened the business side of this community. It really has.
Well, Marcus, let's talk about that for a moment, because we knew when Ted Hennepin came in and took over the water that there were going to be tremendous opportunities here for us to go to work, because now you got a $600 million injection into our economy, and you got a small Black business class. So we said that there's going to be growth and opportunity beyond what we've ever experienced. Marcus, I believe you tried to get some work from the Jackson Water Authority, not the authority, but from Ted Hennepin's group. Were you able to get into work?
We attended about 3 to 4 of the outreach meetings. The dressed up flyer he was putting out saying, come, to our seminar. We're going to let you know about the local opportunities. We attended about 3 or 4 of them. And to this day, we haven't gotten any work.
Yeah, no opportunity at all.
And got the resume to get it, but we haven't gotten any opportunities.
Now, anybody out there in our government here, from our state government, our federal partners to our local partners, if you don't think there's something wrong with that, if you don't think that's discrimination at the highest level, when you have a firm here with the history of Mac Construction and the history of Garrett Enterprises that are not able to work during this time, it is something immoral and it's something criminally wrong with that. And it ought to be called to task by our government officials. Our elected officials ought to say something, Marcus.
They ought to say something.
But they're not.
They're not. They're not.
Why is that?
It's to me, just about in every category, it's always a reaction instead of being proactive. Even when you're talking about this authority and all that, I didn't really hear a lot of beating the pavement beforehand like I do now after the fact.
Right,
and
right.
So that's that to me, that's in just about every situation, not just business, dealing with the crime and dealing with the we're not the contractors. We've been singing this song for a long time. We've been getting the short hand of the stick for a long time, but we got other categories. The attorneys, after the Siemens thing happened, the attorneys can scream and holler a little bit. You got a lot of other categories that can scream and holler about not getting opportunities.
Right. And we got to fix that for all Jacksonians. Now, Marcus, I'll give the mayor credit. On the one hand, when he was under the impression that the authority would rule at the end of the day, he made some suggestions to the governor as to who should be the governor's appointees. And so he recommended that General Collins be the appointment that the governor made. And he also recommended that Shirley Tucker be on that committee as well. And then there was one other person there.
Daniel, it was Austin Barber.
Well, I don't know if he recommended Austin or not, but Austin is a prominent individual here and a good friend of mine. And so if he recommended Austin to be there, then he had 3 good names. He had 3 individuals that, while they may not know much about water and the infrastructure and the pipes, they are solid citizens, but they don't possess the technical expertise to say that the biosolids need to be incorporated in the soil in the following counties during which season. They don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would think that we would want to put technical expertise in these slots when given an opportunity.
That's right.
and somebody's strong enough to say that I'm not voting for that unless we have minority participation. Now, that's a term that I haven't heard in a while coming out of Hinds County, nor the city of Jackson, nor the state of Mississippi, nor the airport, nor the school district. I don't hear much about the requirement for minority participation in this Black county. Do you?
No, I don't. And I don't understand it. I do not understand why no one is champion for the African American business community in this city and county.
We got to fix that.
We got to
We
fix
got to
it.
fix that. Marcus, you let us know what time we're going to go to commercial break over there at 5:30. I don't have my watch on me right now, but when we approach that, then take us to break, will you?
Okay.
Okay. So
We're 6:02 now. So
okay. So it's about time to go. I tell you what we're going to do then. We're going to go to commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about all of the chatter that's going on in the other publications and the radio shows and the bloggers out there, so that we can understand how Jacksonians feel or how folk feel in the surrounding communities. You'll be surprised. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this commercial.
Socrates Garrett ENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. Socrates Garrett ENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. By using Socrates Garrett ENT.com's crushed concrete products, anyone from homeowners to general contractors can help reduce landfilled concrete waste, conserve natural resources, and gain significant economic savings on materials and disposal costs. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
We're back from commercial break, and the engineer had just informed us that we did have some audio problems at the very beginning of the show. We apologize for that. And so some of you weren't able to hear our opening remarks. And I think it's so important because we want to promote and we want the audience to understand the shoes that we're trying to fill. And Marcus, we were talking about your father and his contribution. So I want you to share with us again a little bit about who the man was and what did he do?
Well, as I stated earlier, Jerry was I saw a businessman who got up and went to bed every night with this city really, passion really in his heart. Bailey Avenue was like Hollywood Boulevard back then. And he had the belief that what you saw in New York and LA could be the same thing in Jackson. And he literally turned Bailey Avenue into that. When you came on the avenue to the shopping center, it was a one-stop shop. The ladies got their hair done by some of the most celebrity stylists that were from all over the country, who he actually went and got and brought. I don't know how to this day he encouraged them to move to Jackson, Mississippi, but he brought them back here. The clothing store, I heard the story of several prominent business people in the city today, attorneys and businessmen who came to the clothing store, and he clothed them and had them sharp for their meetings. And then of course Maximilian's, which was where all the professionals all over the city came to have a drink and wind down. And I kind of copycatted off of Maximilian's when I opened the nightclub, the Cartier, in which I tell a lot of people this is how I, garnered political influence with all the fundraisers everything that we had for Congressman Thompson, Mayor Johnson, Governor Ronnie Musgrove, you name it. And so it's so many people. This is why we continue to stress about this Black Business Museum, because there are so many stories that I know the young people don't know, and a lot of older adults probably don't know of some of the success stories that have happened of the African men and women here in the city of Jackson.
And so if you don't know your history, if you don't know where you come from, if you cannot relate to the power that the people that look like you had, and all of the wonderful things that they were doing in the very beginning, then you won't understand how far we have fallen. We were saying that African Americans own restaurants, they had transportation companies. Most y'all had a limousine service. Yep. Y'all had you prepared the food and distributed food to all of the Head Start agencies throughout the entire counties. And so Andrew Smith was there with Maximilian, him and Bill Cooley, out of a class at Jackson State, started that business enterprise thing. And Jerry Owens, I call him Don Corleone. He was one of the smoothest guys. He had the best marketing techniques and skills to get something done in that time. Then Marcus, you said they went on to start a bank.
Right. Like I said, I didn't. I haven't gotten the total history of that, but I heard that a group of Black business people in this city started a bank.
And we're talking about 1970s now. We're talking about 1970s, and that bank morphed into another Black-owned bank called First American that transitioned into the Liberty Bank that we have right here now in Jackson, Mississippi. So, I mean, you got to understand that what we're fighting for is to demonstrate that we can run businesses, that we understand the concepts, that we provide for our own people with jobs, and we take care of our own. So it's critically important that you know that. So we wanted to give you just a little bit of the beginning of the show that you might have missed. And now we're going to get back to our regular program. So Marcus, now over in Jackson Jambalaya, there's an article over there that said Jackson tries to block the creation of the water authority. Now, that means that Jackson has filed a motion to the federal judge to block the water authority.
Well, first of all, let me just say this. I'm sure you, myself, and the listening audience have all tried jambalaya in the past, and we do know that jambalaya is basically a mixture of different type meats and rice and things like that. And I really call it a mess pot. And to me, this is what this blog is, a mess. Because if you really look at the certain words that he say, Jackson tries, you know, it's almost like he always going against the African-American community. And again, I've always said that any blog or anything on social media where you can't put your name up when you responding and you respond anonymously, that to me, that's cowardice. And so, but one thing I have to say about Jackson Jambalaya, it definitely gives you a true, real gauge of how Mississippi's still burning.
Wow. And not only at Jackson Jambalaya, our friend Kim Wade over there in the afternoon shows on WYAB is going off constantly about how ill-prepared and how incapable we are of running anything, and that we are left-wing Democrats that don't deserve an opportunity to do anything. And so, and then they hit us hard in the mornings with my friend Clay Edwards over there, who does the same thing. So you get a lot of Jackson badgering, you get everybody pouring salt on Jackson and the residents of Jackson. And so it's a shame that we don't understand that poor whites and Blacks have to come together, and say that we deserve a better standard of living than we currently have.
And I do have to agree with you that the mayor truly deserves brownie points for putting up this fight, because we could not go to a majority Caucasian city and be on any board or make any decisions. And so for them to feel like that they can do this to Jackson is totally unfair. And so I definitely give him kudos for putting up this fight, at least putting up this fight.
Well, just on the very first paragraph, it says Jackson Mayor John Horn issued the following statement. The city of Jackson today filed a motion asking the federal district court to enjoin implementation of HB 1677 SG, the state law that would create a Metro Water Authority with only 3 board members appointed by the city. The city's position is that the law attempts to take authority away from the federal court, and that only the court can determine the next steps for Jackson's water system. The city also said it stands ready to work with the court and all stakeholders to preserve Jackson's voice in those decisions. And so that's the mayor's statement. And we support that. We applaud him for taking that stand.
That's right.
We don't think he should have announced any appointees to the authority on Saturday. We do think that he still should be in the fight mode as he is here and try and shut this down. This is bad legislation for Jacksonians. Now, you got to keep in mind that Jackson's assets belong to Jackson. Now, you want to take our airport from us. You want to take our crime fighting element in the city and create your own court systems, your own police department over there. You want to take the water and the wastewater away from Jackson. If you do that, there is no need for a mayor in Jackson. There is nothing to be over. There is nothing that you can control, that you can't decide how to empower your people if all of the revenue generating activities are controlled by somebody else. White folk control the 1% sales tax. That's all Jackson taxes. The taxation does not apply to anywhere in the metro area other than Jackson. We pay 8% on sales taxes in Jackson. The rest of the state pays 6 or 7%. And Jacksonians voted to tax themselves. They did not vote to be controlled by outside authority.
And I don't know one representative, and I can stand to be corrected, but I don't know one political representative on either level of government, city, county, or state, who has asked for an accounting of this 1% money to see exactly where it has been spent, and questions hadn't been asked.
No accountant. We want to run down there and do audits on the city budget, but for those things, that's like we want to audit, how many eggs that we have left when somebody has got the hen. Okay, they control the hen. And so a friend of mine said a long time ago, we don't control nothing in Jackson. We don't even control, we control where we eat, but we don't control if we eat. And so we're fighting to say to the mayor and to the city council, take this fight, take it to Judge Wingate, who is a member of this community. He's an African-American judge, a prominent member of this community. Marcus, I believe you know him well. I believe that you've seen him around in the communities. And he is an individual that feels that Jackson deserves better. And we hope that he shows that in his ruling to support the city.
You know, the other thing I want to do too, Sock, I want the listening audience and the citizens of this city to take this very serious. We're up here advocating and fighting because guess what? We have felt the wrath up top. But if we don't step in and let our voices be heard, guess what? It's going to start affecting the barbershops. It's going to start affecting the cleaners. It's going to start affecting the mom and pop businesses, and it's just going to trickle on down and down. And so, we really need you all to take these shows that we're having and this information that we're putting out to be impactful. And we got to get on one accord. We got to get on one accord.
This authority is made up of individuals that does not reside in Jackson. We don't need individuals from outlying counties saying how Jackson's dollars are going to be spent in terms of maintenance, in terms of upgrades, in terms of consultants, in terms of any of those kind of things, if you're not vested in this city. That was the original taxation without representation that got all of the tea through in the Boston Harbor, Marcus. So we just can't have that.
The other thing that I heard, I don't know if it's 100% true, but of course, we got two municipalities that's a part of the authority, which is Byram and Ridgeland. Well, I heard just today that Ridgeland is used on the sewer system of Jackson and not the water. I don't know how true that is, but if that is true, that's something that needs to be taken a look at. I like Mayor McGee and I like Mayor White. I think you couldn't have two better mayors a part of the authority. But again, whatever happens everywhere else, it needs to happen with all fairness for Jackson. That's just where I am on that.
And then so we go back and we talk about how Jackson got to where it is and why it has trouble funding some of the repairs that needs to be made. It just didn't happen overnight. I mean, the neglect of the maintenance in the system occurred years and years ago, not under Black leadership, but there was no maintenance and budget in place under white leadership. And I remind everybody out here now, Mississippi is the poorest state in the nation and is led by white people. So white leadership has demonstrated that they can lead a state into being last. So what gives you the audacity to say that Blacks can't lead their city when you haven't led the state out of last position for the last 200 years?
And African Americans can't lead their city when you got $26 million and you give 14 million of it to Northeast Jackson. How and the African American sections of the city, I think maybe 1.8 million is going to be spent. You can't grow that. That's I want to give a big shout out to the new president of JSU, but her first week, Dr. Gregory has been dealing with the dormitory issues. And let me tell you all, it's nothing she can do if she doesn't get funding from the state of Mississippi. Funding is like oxygen. We need it to breathe. And there's no way she can make the changes that she needs to make if she's not going to get any help from the state. We got to stop having these lopsided appropriations and allocations. I'm all for the development over there on Lakeland Drive and LaFleur's Bluff, but balance it out. Just as you grow, that's part of the city. South and West Jackson needs to grow as well. A lot of people don't want to address the issue, but the reason why we're having this huge crime element in South and West Jackson is because we're not showing them any hope over there. There's no growth.
And so there you have it. I mean, if we don't show some diversity in the development, and if we don't get our rightful share of funding from the state of Mississippi, then we have a situation where it's going to be difficult for us to maintain Mississippi's largest city. Jackson, Mississippi, the home of the state capital. This is the area that we should be most proud of. This is the area that we ought to all come together and demonstrate that we are Christians, that we can work together, and that we can build and correct any deficiencies that we have without stepping on my fellow man, without causing a situation that indicates that they can't run anything.
And many are trying to make it out of that, but this is not a white Jackson. It's not a black Jackson. This is one Jackson.
One Jackson. One Jackson. And so, and I will give our viewers a little bit of contextual information. You know, Jackson cannot grow to the north. Is boundaries up there by Ridgeland. It cannot grow to the east because the Flowood sitting there, and Flowood is absolutely booming, and Ridgeland is absolutely booming. Jackson can't grow to the south because Byron sits there, and so Jackson can't do that. It only way it can grow is kind of southwest down Highway 18, because Clinton has got his boundary set over there. Now, Jackson tried to annex an area in Ridgeland years ago, and the courts denied it. Jackson tried to annex the area at Byron, and the courts denied the annexation. And when I drive through Byron now, you got the worst traffic jam you ever seen in that city, trying to move traffic along because everybody moved outside of Jackson. So Jackson doesn't get the funding, the businesses moved out, and so we left with a challenging situation. Got nothing to do with competency, it's got to do with a budget shortfall to maintain a city that once had 200,000 plus population. It's down to less than 150,000 people left in the city of Jackson. So there are going to be challenges, but we can work together and fix this, but we can't do it with bad, prohibitive legislation that puts your foot on the neck of the little man that's already down.
Right, and we can't do it playing the party preference game either. You know, we like I said, it's one Jackson. When it's for the betterment of the citizens of this entire city, it's one Jackson. And that's the way decisions need to be made.
And that's the way it's going to have to be. And Marcus, I want to put a plug in for my friend Prado over here that's trying to get his data center application approved by the state of Mississippi. And he's catching a lot of heat from the Big Pie Forum. People are talking about that he should not be allowed to put a data center here in Jackson. I think that Jackson has got to look for opportunities like that. Do you understand that what a data center in Jackson would mean, and why we have an ordinance that says we have a moratorium on data centers when nobody was trying to put one here in the first place? And secondly, when you go across County Line Road out there on Highland Collar Boulevard, you got the largest data center in the world. It's sitting right there. It's just not in your tax base. It's just right across the street. So I think that Mr. Prado should be supported. He should be given an opportunity to create some jobs and some opportunities with an AI Academy right here in our city. I think that we ought to have a casino on the Pearl River, downtown Jackson. Marcus, we have to come up with ideas and solutions that our folk can implement that would change Jackson's future.
Absolutely.
It needs revenue. And our city council people out there got to be visionary enough to know that you got to find revenue. And you can do that with these new ideas and new concepts like data centers. And you can do that if you fight the legislature on the ban of the casino being located on the Pearl River. And those are revenue generations for our city. Marcus, I don't hear our local elected state representatives, nor our city representatives, putting forth concrete, solid ideas and plans on how to fix Jackson's problems.
I don't either. I don't even, like I said, I don't even see any of them bringing the business community together. Every once in a while, back in the day, they brought us all together to brainstorm, to talk about the forecast of opportunities that were coming down the pipeline. We're missing all of that.
We're missing all of that.
We're missing all of that.
Marcus, we're getting ready to close our show out, but we lost 3 giants in our community this week. We lost Louis Armstrong. Did you know Mr. Armstrong?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Say a word about him.
He definitely championed and pushed for African American businesses back in the day, for sure. Was an overall good guy, and this city owes him a debt of gratitude, for sure.
Louis Armstrong was president of the city council, and no contract, no spending of city money came through the council when he didn't say how many black folk working. What's my minority participation?
That's right.
He said it wasn't going to come through there if it didn't have minority participation on it. And Jackson was flourishing. We were doing things. And Mr. Armstrong, he did his part. He was an activist. He was a council person. And like all business people, not like all, but like some business people, there are traps that are set that you find yourself in. And Mr. Armstrong got caught in one of those situations there during the time when he was president of city council, and he had to spend some time away.
And that's a very real topic right there, Socrates, because you have to be careful, because one thing I have realized around here, it's something about when you fly above the altitude that they think you should fly, you experience problems, and you have to be on the lookout. You have to 2 steps ahead. You have to have eyes in the back of your head to make sure that you do not get backed in a corner or get caught in situations. Now that is real. I can say, for one, as a successful businessman in this city, I've experienced that. I have experienced that.
Well, you're absolutely right. Mayor Johnson, for example, the first African-American mayor, would not allow you to buy him a cup of coffee, would not allow you to buy him a meal. He understood that he had to be above that kind of thought process. And what happens is, Marcus, we don't prepare our young people for the heavy responsibility and for the traps and the tricks that are going to be played against them as they become in positions of power. So Mr. Armstrong fell victim to that, but he came out of that a better person and served with in a distinguished manner. And I believe he was also a member of the Hinds County team, working down there with Credale Calhoun. So we're going to miss Louis Armstrong. I
think he was over Human Culture Services at one point as well.
Great guy, talented guy. We're going to miss him. And then we lost Anthony Simon. Simon was a practicing attorney, a brilliant man. He was an attorney here in the city. His brother was a surgeon over there in the VA, and just comes from a prominent family, accomplished people that have done so much. And so we lost him this week as well, or last week. And so he is going to be missed as well. And I know that the Taperson's law practice is now, with Peter going on to the city to become the city CAO, he doesn't have anybody to hold that ring. And so once again, we lose ground in the quality of the people that we have represent us if we're not very careful. So he's going to be sorely missed. And then I understand that Claude McCants. And so this is a name.
Didn't know Mr. McCann's had that.
This is a name that, and I want to be careful with this because I haven't confirmed this. I was listening at Straight Talk, and I thought that's what I heard them say. So let me hold up on that for a moment because it would be terribly wrong for me to have someone that haven't expired.
Right, send him too soon.
But we're going to do some more research on that. But it's been a difficult week for Jackson. It's been a difficult week for Black businesses. Marcus, I remember that when a Black man couldn't buy a home in Eastover, Cornelius Turner bought the first house as a Black man over in Eastover, but he couldn't buy it himself. Marcus, he had to let a white man buy the house for him so he could move in. I mean, that's our history. I mean, we've been through enough. So you need to get your foot off of Black folks' neck and try to build and create role models and opportunities where we see Black businesses flourishing. We see buildings going up, high rises, we see trucks running, we see office supply shops, we see all of those things happening. Restaurants, we need to feed ourselves. And so there's so much to do. And when you look at the growth of the surrounding communities, Madison, and my friend Mary Hawkins, Mayor Mary Hawkins Butler up there, I just love you dearly. She is a strong mayor and she protects her city and her constituents up there. And she'll take on anybody.
That's right.
she'll fight you to the end. And for her folk, and my friend Garrett Rose that ran Flowood for years and years and years, and finally retired this last term.
Good people.
Look at how Flowood has grown, man.
Good people. His son Dusty, some good people.
Good people,
Good
man.
people.
We need folk that are committed to Jackson the same way those individuals were committed to their towns.
And when you mention those individuals, this is why we want to continue to stress to our listening audience that this is definitely not a racist podcast program at all. And one thing I would leave you all with tonight is just simply let's collectively continue to educate our children that racism is not born. You're not born with racism. It's taught.
With that being said, we're going to say good night.
Good night.